I'm gonna say it, just to be clear. I somewhat enjoyed Tears of the Kingdom. I enjoyed playing it. I found some moments kind of lackluster, but overall I did enjoy playing it. This video doesn't come out of pure spite or hate for the product, but rather disappointment. I just want to make that clear. This was a game that I did somewhat enjoy, but I felt like the direction that the series is going in can be detrimental if not addressed. And to start all this, we need to talk about Tears' story. Tears' story sucks. It tries to do what Breath of the Wild did with the Man Out of Time, where, you know, Link is awoken in a future he knows nothing about. He knows nothing about his past life, and he's just an amnesiac. Occasionally, he fills in the pieces, he sees glimpses of his past, and learns about the champions that came before him, that he was with. You get to meet interesting characters like Mipha, Urbosa, the Goron guy, and Birdley from Deltarune. All of these characters were somewhat interesting. Despite the fact that they didn't show up apart from the memories and the Divine Beast quests, they were still somewhat interesting. The characters shown are unique and they feel lived in. Urbosa chilling out with Zelda on the Divine Beast, Mipha having feelings for Link. It's subtlety like this that makes these characters actually likable. But when Tears tried to follow in the footsteps of what they did before, they bastardized what they'd already done. They fucked up what they did so good. The champions were interesting because you only saw them through their quests and the brief memories you had, but you could tell there was underlying things that weren't addressed, little bits of info you could find throughout the game. But the initial sages, there's none of that. And the sages you do get in the current day are pre-established characters. It's cool that they get to do something now, but why are the initial sages here? What purpose do they serve? These are characters whose sole purpose is to have a reason for your sages to get secret stones. The memories shown are from Zelda's point of view from thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands, and it means nothing. The characters are bland. They're the main 4 core races, same as the champions, but they're wearing masks. There is no characterization. You've heard it all before, Secret Stone, Demon King, it's looping dialogue. One cutscene for 4 characters with minor alteration. It sucks. And it would have been more interesting if the game had taken place all these years ago. If you did give us characters like the champions. One of my complaints is that none of the characters in the current game, except Sidon in Breath of the Wild, feel interesting. There's only a couple. It would have been nice to have these characters. The huge epic story isn't even portrayed to us. It was 1,000 years ago. There are roaming NPCs, but everything doesn't really feel lived in, and that's kind of the point, but it's just empty. And speaking of empty, in Breath of the Wild, you had the ability to use Rivali's Grace.
I'm gay.
Fly high and use paraglider to skip over certain sections of land. This was kind of a reward because you didn't have to deal with the walk, but if the walk was not meant to be traversed, why put it there? Why not shorten this gap? The reason is because Breath of the Wild's design philosophy is if you see that mountain, you can climb it. But it doesn't mean there's anything interesting up there. It doesn't mean there's anything cool. Granted, there could be. There could be a very cool dragon up there, or something interesting. But half the time, it's just a hill. And so the journey is more of the actual reward. Knowing that you can scale this land, seeing the sights, hearing the ambience, it's cool. But if you can use Rivali's Grace,
Gale,
or worse, create a flying machine to just cross it easily, there's no point for all this land because it's easily traversable. And that's one of the big issues with the build mechanic. Tears of the Kingdom becomes Breath of the Wild nuts and bolts, and you get to just skip everything. You get to build mechanisms, and the reward is really, really easy to get. You don't want to cross through this area? Build a hoverbike. You don't want to deal with that enemy? Just attach a really strong weapon and attack him. Breath of the Wild's durability system had flaws, and because it had flaws, Tears of the Kingdom tried to change it. In Breath of the Wild, there was no reason to fight an enemy you saw because chances are his weapon he'd drop would be worse than the one you currently had. People wanted the ability to keep weapons and be able to repair them, and so Tears of the Kingdom came around and they attempted to address this by allowing you to fuse weapons together. Fuse all the monster drops to make new weapons. And that's cool, that's good. But then they ruined arrows instead. You can't improve in one area of this game without fucking something else up. The arrows just got worse. In Breath of the Wild, you had fire arrows, ice arrows, lightning arrows. It was very manageable. You only had so many arrows. You could easily go through these. But Tears of the Kingdom, every material you pick up can be selected. And so they just give it to you all at once. There's no way to put favorites, there's no way to make anything easier, but managing through menus doesn't sound like a fun way to play this game.
Goddamn right.
At least in Tears of the Kingdom, they added areas to explore, right? Hyrule's changed. Sure, there's natural phenomenon, but not really. They added an underground section, which is essentially just a height-swapped map of Hyrule, with the lowest points being the highest points, with the same texture going across all of it, with Yiga and rocks to mine. You have Sky Island, aka just one big sky island and a bunch of mini islands. It's nothing impressive. Seeing the trailers for this game, walking around the Sky Island, it's one place. There's only one big sky island to explore. There isn't an interesting area to explore in the sky. Definitely not the fucking water temple. This shit is ass. And don't get me started on the dungeons. Breath of the Wild also had this issue. If we want to compare it to an older game, Breath of the Wild has the same gimmick for every fucking dungeon. It's always connect the terminals. This is so boring, especially when it follows into Tears of the Kingdom. Where's Woodfall? Where's moving everything around? Where's anything? Where's Stone Tower Temple using your Goron abilities to drive up? Where is it? Because instead, you have to switch terminals on and move. Brilliant. Brilliant. Just brilliant. Where did the keys go? I missed the original water temple. Compared to this shit. These floating islands with nothing cohesive. Floating. The only good dungeon in all of these games is the Lightning Temple. The Lightning Temple, because it locks you in. It doesn't allow you to just skip. You actually have to interact with the dungeon and learn its mechanics instead of just skipping to where the next terminal is and figuring out what to do. You have to interact with the environment and unlock things. But you don't have that in the other dungeons. Because the game's built off shrines. And oh god, do I hate shrines. Remember in old Zelda games where you'd see a heart container and you'd have to go get it? You'd have to figure how to get it. Yeah? Well, now that's gone. Now you just do a shrine and get a heart container. But, oh, how do I get to the shrine? Oh, I have to do this and that. Oh, there's a little puzzle and I'm in the shrine. Oh, I wonder what this shrine's like. It's free! Wonderful! There is no puzzle. What was the point in having this shrine here if I had to do a puzzle to get to it? Why do I have to collect 4 shrines? Why are the shrines proportionally not difficult? You could skip tutorial shrines until the end of the game and then come back and you have to learn how to throw things again. The game tells you how to throw things. It's stupid. I cannot take Ganondorf seriously either. The villain of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, Calamity Ganon, Raru's entire fucking quest to defeat this dude. It means nothing. Do you know why? Because I don't know why Ganondorf's here. This game is set after everything. Thousands of years. And Nintendo wants you to think it's at the end of the timeline where they all fuse into one. They're everything so far begotten that the actions of the previous games don't matter anymore. Excuse me? What if those timelines caused Ganondorf to irrevocably be turned into a pig? How could he be back? I see the only way that the Wild games can fit in is if at the very end of Wind Waker, it happens. Because it's not at the start, no matter how much Raru wants to convince everyone he's the king of Hyrule and he founded the place. Piss off. I hate this fucking goat. This goat. Such an incompetent leader. I hate him. Ganon means nothing to me in this game. The big entity, the Calamity, sure, that's a threat. That's an imposing threat. I'll give it that. I'll give Calamity Ganon that, but there's no personality. And especially when you get to normal Ganondorf, there's nothing. Except his vibes in his final boss fight. I'm not gonna lie. His final boss in Tears of the Kingdom is dope. It is cool. He grows a health bar after you fight him too much. That's cool. He turns into a dragon. You have to fight him with the light dragon by your side. Oh, the light dragon. I'm going to get back to you. I'm going to get back to you. That's undeniably quite cool. But there is no tact here. Wind Waker Ganondorf is so much more interesting. Zant, a throwaway villain, is so much cooler. Same with Girahim. I miss this dude. I would have happily had this dude back. Compared to Ganondorf, I thought the entire point of Ganondorf was that each version of him experienced a different event. Twilight Princess never received his downfall after ruling Hyrule, and he didn't get the lessons Wind Waker taught him, so he's a lot more cruel. The Fallen timeline Ganondorf is just a pig, because he got what he wanted, and he turned into a big pig monster. And Wind Waker Ganondorf kind of regrets what he did, trying to unflood everything. But no, there's nothing. It means nothing. And then you got the dragons. Oh, the dragons, and by extension, the Zonai. The Zonai were introduced in Breath of the Wild as ancient tribe. People were interested in them. And then Tears of the Kingdom has a Zonai, and it's like, oh, I wonder what the Zonai are like then. Are we going to get, like, a deeper look into the Zonai? Kind of like what we wanted from the Sheikah? And, like, you showed the Sheikah kind of being cool in the previous game. Maybe, like, the Zonai are, like, magically bound, where the Sheikah started to go tech-bound. Nope! The Zonai also do tech, and they also do shrines the exact same way as the Sheikah. But it's not the Zonai doing this. It's one guy and his wife building hundreds of shrines. Why? And we don't get a single look at the Zonai. Does Rauru have anything to say about the Zonai? Does his sister have anything to say about the Zonai? Nope. They have no idea who they are. They have no idea. What was the point? And one of my least favourite things is after they do all the timeline shenanigans saying it's set place so far that the other games don't matter, trying to soft reboot the franchise, they just turn around and give references to previous games. Zelda references the Twilight Realm. She says through that is a whole dimension you were talking about. It just frustrates me. It frustrates me to no end. At the very least, I will say Tears of the Kingdom does better bosses than Breath of the Wild. The Queen Gibdo fight is actually really cool. I really like the Queen Gibdo fight. It's just annoying seeing the franchise retroactively seemingly altered. I remember with Echoes of Wisdom, you get a retroactive god character added. The goddesses of the Triforce have a dude they're fighting, and you just casually beat him. This is an Eldritch force that makes the ground, and he's been always here? Always. And you could just best him. Easily. What? So you're telling me in Skyward Sword, when Hylia and Demise are fighting, there was just some god? That's why I kind of don't like the direction Zelda seems to be headed. It's all about creativity, and no care for its foundation. Also, the Light Dragons are fucking nuisance. Are you telling me that after getting all these memories, the only difference I can make is by telling Impa that, oh, Zelda's a dragon? Why do I tell Yonobu that that's not Zelda and instead a fake, a trap set by fucking Ganondorf? Link, you are purposefully letting this go unchecked. Because what? Nintendo couldn't put a line of dialogue here to check if you had gotten the memories? Are you kidding me?
I'd like nothing more than to smash the Demon King.